Shabbat Shalom and Happy New Moon Yasharallah. We have the Mark of the Beast study today. Without further ado, let's get started with the prayer. Heavenly Abba, high in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us of our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Not just this day, Abba, but all throughout this week, all throughout this month, all throughout this year, Abba. Allow us to walk in the way, the truth, and the light, in the steps of our Mashiach. And guide this message. Send the Ruach to give us understanding and wisdom, and not vanity in wisdom, Abba, but wisdom of instructions to do your will and to walk in a righteous light. In the name of our Mashiach Yeshaya, Amen. Time to share screen. Let's get it on. Where the mark of the beast is found is Revelation 13:18, which is where we're going to start off in this study. And we'll be all over the book of Revelation. And you know me, we're going to be pulling resources from every way possible to make it make sense with Scripture. Let us begin. We're going to read Revelation 13:15 through 18. And he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. Here is wisdom. Let him that has understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666, which we could just say 666. Let's break this bad boy down. We have the things that are highlighted is the focal point of this study. I want to make it very clear that we are focusing on the attributes of the beast, the identifiers. How many studies or how many times have you looked into the mark of the beast? But have you ever looked into the image? Have you looked into the name? It gives us the number. But we have the number, the name, the mark, the image. Have we ever thought about more than just the mark? Obviously, that's the name of the video, but there's much more identifiers than just the mark to show us who is the beast. That's what we're focusing on right now in this study. We're we have at the very beginning of this chapter, Revelation 13, it talks about a beast coming from the sea. It then later on talks about a beast coming from the earth, and then you go all the way to the book of Daniel, and it talks about the many beasts in past history. We're not focusing on specifically identifying these beasts, because we will see that the world is the beast. We're not going to say, oh, let's focus on the papacy. Why are we going to just focus on the papacy? You really think they're the only ones that is of the beast? There are many beasts. Many. The world hated Messiah. The world did, because he walks in truth. So let's not be deceived to believe there is one beast, or there is one antichrist, or there is even one Satan. There are many. There are many. So all the highlighted is what we're going to go over in this study. Because the beast system, especially in the time that we're in, which is what this video is about, the time that we're in, the beast system is the entire world at this point. Revelation 18, 3 through 5, and then verse 8. For all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her, which is a mystery Babylon, fornication, and the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her, and the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies. And I heard another voice from heaven saying, come out of her. So all nations have drunk the wrath of mystery Babylon. So the entire world, he's speaking to everyone, at least to his children, his people, to come out of her. My people, that ye be not partakers of her sins, and that ye receive not of her plagues. For her sins have reached unto heaven, and Elohim has remembered her iniquities. Therefore shall her plagues come in one day, death and mourning and famine, and she shall be utterly burned with fire, for strong is the Adon Elohai who judges her. I just wanted to highlight the plagues come in one day, because that's how it's going to hit. He comes like a thief in the night. This isn't going to be something drawn out. If you're not awake and aware, it's going to hit you like a brick wall, right? Continuing, Revelation 13, the beginning of the chapter of what we just read of the mark of the beast. This is the beginning of it, to show you that there is many beasts. Verse 1 and 2, and I stood upon the sand of the sea and saw a beast. This is speaking of the beast spoken about of Rome, found in the book of Daniel. I actually forgot to put the the verse like I did over here, but the beast found in the book of Daniel, which is Rome, rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his heads the name of blasphemy. And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, which was a symbol of, this beast was a symbol of Greece in the book of Daniel 7:6. And his feet were as the feet of a bear, which was Medo-Persia, found in Daniel 7:5. And his mouth as the mouth of a lion, which was a representation of older days, ancient days Babylon, found in Daniel 7:4. And the dragon, Satan, Revelation 12:9, which we'll see here, gave him his power and his seat and great authority. So this beast is a mixed beast. Very, try to make it very clear that when we read about, I know we're not going into the book of Daniel, and I don't know, obviously each person's different if they looked over that or not, but doesn't need to. I'm just pointing out the facts that these are the nations that are involved in the book of Daniel. And these nations are all one with this beast, Rome. Once again, this is signifying that all nations, this is more than one nations. This is more than one, and it's plural. There is a plethora of deception, religion out here that can be marked by the beast. Revelation 12:9, and the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil and Satan, as we said here, great dragon, which deceiveth the whole world. That's the reason why I put this here over and over again. Is it just one religion being deceived? Is it one nation? We have all nations being commanded to come out of her. We see that the beast that leads to the mark is a mixture of nations. And if you look into Rome, Rome is a clear mixture of nations. Rome, especially Rome mythology, is like a copycat little brother of the Greek mythology. You look at Christianity, their religion, you have a mixture of a bunch of religions, a bunch of mythology gods. You got the Ishtar with Easter. You have Saturnalia with Christmas, Nimrod, everything that has to do with the core of the papacy, Catholicism, Christianity are all mixtures of each other or intertwined with each other nowadays. And the devil and Satan, which deceives the whole world. That's what this is about, the entire world. Let's not be deceived to be looking at one people, one nation, like many do when they look at the mark of the beast. And then they show us this with symbols. Like I said, they give us identifiers because the Most High shows his people, shows his prophets before something happens. And that rule, what do they call it in the occult? They call it oh my goodness, slipped my mind. Something process of the method, revelation of the method. I believe is what they call it in the occult. Revelation of the method, where they show you before they do it to you. And we see this, we just read it, Revelation 13, 1 and 2, the mixture of the kingdoms, right? Well, here we go. Right in the heart of Babylon, New York City headquarters, the United Nations unveils a statue that resembles the beast from the book of Revelation. They're showing you who they are. The United Nations. Get it? The United Nations is the mixed beast because they're united. We're in a different world than what the book of Daniel was when everybody was separate. They are united. 2 Corinthians 4 and 4. In whom the God of this world has blinded the minds of them which believe not, lest the light of the glorious gospel of Mashiach, who is the image of Elohim, should shine upon them. The God of this world, the United Nations. We're in the latter days, right? I'm pretty sure everyone watching this believes we're in the latter days. We got to believe that this whole world has been taken over. This whole world is drinking the wine of fornication of Mystery Babylon. This whole world is under the dominion of the fallen. All right. That being said, let's go over the mark of the Most High. We gain understanding of the mark of the Most High. It will give us understanding of the mark of the beast. So many people really believe that the wisdom and the identifiers for the mark of the beast is outside of the Bible. Like, let's make that make sense. The mark of the beast is not. Many people believe it's not found in the Bible. Many people think you got to go outside of it. The identifiers and every information you need for the beast, the mark of the beast, is right in the word. So let's identify it, shall we? Going over the mark of the Most High first. Deuteronomy chapter 6, verse 1 through 8. Now these are the commandments, the statutes, and the judgments which Haya, your Elohim, commanded to teach you, that ye might do them in the land whither ye go to possess it, that thou mightest fear Haya the Alahai, to keep all his statutes and his commandments, which I command thee, thou and thy son and thy son's son, all the days of thy life, and that thy days may be prolonged. Hear therefore, O Yasharallah, and observe to do it, that it may be well with thee, and that ye may increase mightily, as Haya of thy fathers have promised thee in the land that thou floweth with milk and honey. O Yasharallah, Haya, our Elohim, is one, and thou shalt love Haya the Elohim with all thy heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy might. And these words which I command thee this day shall be in thy heart, and thou shalt teach them diligently down, and when thou risest up, I skipped a line, diligently upon thy children, and shalt talk of them when thou sittest in thy house, and when thou walkest by the way, and when thou liest down, and when thou risest up. And thou shalt bind them for a sign upon thy hand, and they shall be as frontlets between thy eyes. That sounds very similar to the mark of the beast upon your right hand and your forehead. The same exact description, actually, upon your hand and between the frontlets of your eyes, your forehead. So this is the mark of the Most High we're reading, and it's very clear. And now that we're gathering this, let's really think about it. If the mark of the Most High is in the same places, your hand and your forehead, and the description for the devil's mark is the same description of places, then we should search the scripture to see what else we can find with these identifiers. Let's continue with this, though. Deuteronomy 11, 8, and then 16 and 18. So verse 8 establishes what we're talking about. Therefore shall ye keep all the commandments which I command you this day, that ye may be strong and go in and possess the land, whether ye go to possess it. All right, so we're just establishing, and then we're going to jump to verse 16 through 18. So this is all about the commandments, just as we read up here in Deuteronomy 6. Now, verse 16. Take heed to yourselves that your heart be not deceived, and ye turn aside and serve other gods and worship them. And then Haya's wrath be kindled against you, and he shut up the heaven, that there be no rain, and that the land yield not her fruit, unless ye perish quickly from off the good land which Haya giveth you. Therefore shall ye lay up these my words in your heart and in your soul, and bind them for a sign upon your hand, that they may be as frontlets between your eyes. Once again, can't be any more clear. He's speaking of keeping his commandments. Exodus 13, 6 through 10. 7 days thou shalt eat unleavened bread, and in the seventh day shall be a feast to the Most High. Just skip. I don't even know why I kept verse 7 too. And thou shalt show, but this, I guess we're just showing that he's even specifically talking about his feast days, his Moedim right here. So we got the unleavened bread. And then verse 8, and thou shalt show thy son in that day, saying, this is done because of that which Haya did unto me when I came forth out of Egypt. And it shall be for a sign upon thee, upon thy hand, for a memorial between thy eyes, and that the Adon's law may be in thy mouth. So what's the sign upon thy hand and a memorial between thy eyes? That the Most High's laws may be in thy mouth. For with a strong hand has Haya brought thee out of Egypt. Thou shalt therefore keep his ordinances in his season from year to year. All right, not much to run around with this. Very straightforward. The commandments is a sign between your eyelids, your forehead, and your hand. Let's remember that and build on this. So we see that the forehead symbolizes our belief. And what we believe will produce how we live, which is symbolic of our hands, our works. How do we live? What do we produce in this life is our works. And how you produce works comes straight from your noggin. Between your eyelids, your forehead, your beliefs is how you practice. And just to clarify here, where we see that over and over again, we see that this is a sign right here, that this is a sign upon thy hand in thy forehead. Once again, that is a sign. And that is a sign. Understand the Hebrew word, even though it's translated in English as sign, the Hebrew word for sign is the same Hebrew word for mark. Alt. Hebrew 226. It's the same word. So let's understand all of these that says signs can also say, bind them for a mark upon thy hand, and they shall be as frontlets between thy eyes. That's why I put mark of the Most High. So we can connect the dots with the mark of the beast. They are signs. And as it says here, some will believe in the anti-Messiah. Some will show they believe in it with what they do. 2 Thessalonians chapter 2. For the mystery of iniquity does already work. Obviously, this is being spoken in the times of Mashiach, or, relatively in those times. Only he who now letteth until he be taken out of the way. And then shall that wicked be revealed, whom the Adon shall consume with the spirit of his mouth, and shall destroy with the brightness of his coming. Even him whose coming is after the working of Satan, with all power and signs and lying wonders, and with all deceivableness of unrighteousness in them that perish, because they receive not the love of the truth. And Psalms 119, 142 clearly lets us know that thy law, thy Torah, is truth, that they might be saved. 1 John 2:18, little children, it is the last time. And as ye have heard that Antichrist shall come, even now are there many antichrists, whereby we know that it is the last time. So once again, I want to reiterate over and over again, is that we are not trying to look at just one beast, one nation. We understand that we're looking at everything that opposes the good book, his living word, and that there are many beasts and there are many antichrists. So we see that keeping the commandments should be upon a sign or a mark upon your hand and your forehead. But the center of his commandments, the center, the base that proclaims where you stand in this life, evolves around his Sabbath day. All throughout the Bible, his Sabbath day is separate and exalted just a little bit higher than the rest of the commandments. It's always separated and used as the Sabbath day is used as a vessel for growth, for holy convocations, and to show that you are obedient to his commandments. If you are keeping the food law, for example, but you're not keeping the Sabbath day, that never makes any sense. The Sabbath day is the bedrock that the commandments are steadfast on, which is what we're going to read about in even Acts 15 here on this slide. It is Exodus 31, 13 through 17. Speak thou also unto the children of Yasharallah, saying, Verily, my Sabbaths ye shall keep, for it is a sign between me and you throughout your generations, that ye were, I want to specify again. Sign, this Hebrew word, can also mean mark. So the Sabbath is a sign and mark between me and you throughout your generations, that ye may know that I am Haya, that does sanctify you. Ye shall keep the Sabbath, therefore, for it is Kodesh, holy unto you. Everyone that defiles it shall surely be put to death. For whoever doeth any work therein, that soul shall be cut off from among his people. So like I said, if you're not keeping the Sabbath, nothing else matters because you're cut off immediately. If you're not keeping the Sabbath, you're already cut out. It don't even matter what you're doing outside the camp. If you're not in the camp, what does it matter what you're doing outside the camp, right? Verse 15, 6 days may work be done, but in the seventh is the Sabbath of rest. Kodesh to the Most High. Whosoever doeth any work in the Sabbath day, he shall surely be put to death. Wherefore the children of Yasharallah shall keep the Sabbath, to observe the Sabbath throughout their generations, for a perpetual covenant, never-ending covenant. It is a sign or mark between me and the children of Yasharallah forever. For in 6 days Haya made heaven and earth, and on the seventh day he rested and was refreshed. Continuing with the Sabbath being a sign and mark. Ezekiel 20:20, and he hallowed my Sabbaths, and they shall be a mark, a sign between me and you, that ye may know that I am Ahaya, your Alahayim. And as we see, like I said, this is the center, this is the base of what his commandments is evolved around. We keep the Sabbath, and so it shall be a sign that so that he may know. We got to prove ourselves. That's what this life's about, y'all. This life is temporary. It's a test. Second Ezra makes it crystal clear that this life is a battle. It's a test. And those that choose to battle with and for the Most High, the next life is for. This life is for many. The next life is for the few. He has given, this life is a free gift. You can be whatever you want in this life. It's free. It's completely free. The next life isn't. The next life is earned. The next life is a reward to those that stood valiantly for his commandments in the testimony of Messiah. And if you want to be a part of the next, the center of your worship better be on the Sabbath. And then we see that the base of your growth should be evolved around the Sabbath day. And we got a perfect example from the Jerusalem Council in Acts 15, 19 through 21. I'll set the scene. They were approached about zealous Jews telling Gentiles to be circumcised. And the idea of their response is saying, stop telling folks to be circumcised before they're even in the covenant. Allow them to grow in understanding and in love for our Creator and Mashiach. If they are going to be circumcised, let it be upon their decision because they've learned that this is what righteous beings do when they follow the Torah and keep the commandments of the Most High. All right, Acts 15:19. Wherefore my sentence is that we trouble not them which from among the Gentiles are turned to Elohim, but that we write unto them that they abstain from pollution of idols. So right now they're saying at the beginning of the Gentiles' walk, this is what they need to focus on if they want to continue to show up to fellowships. They need to stop having pollutions of idols, from fornication, from things strangled, from blood. So these are all things that they're James and Peter is like, hey, y'all Gentiles, y'all can stop doing this idolatry and drinking of blood and animals sacrificed to idols. Y'all can stop doing it right now. Stop doing that right now so you're clean enough to show up to the fellowships. And then what's the next verse say? For Moses of old time has in every city of them that preach him, being read in the synagogues every Sabbath day. Especially for those that has been a part of this fellowship and has been showing up to the Sabbaths, the Sabbath studies, the Torah portion, gospel portions. Ain't that what we do? That's exactly what we do. Every Sabbath day we grow. Every Sabbath day you go, oh, I didn't know that. Let me correct my walk. Do you not? Or did you wake up and say, I need to be circumcised? You woke up and you started on milk of the word. You got full on the milk. You started chewing on meat. And then you're showing up every week and you're like, I need to mold myself. The more I grow, the more my walk strengthens. You repent and then you make correction. Yes. That's what's going on. That's why the Sabbath is so important. You take time out of this crazy world for him and for your walk with him. Every single week, he demands it of us, and we should oblige to that because it is a blessing. It's a baraka if you allow it to be. And that's what the mark of the Most High, the sign to his people, sits on, because that's the time where we grow. And that's the time when we grow in our works and grow in our love, not just for Abba, but for others. Very important to understand. The Sabbath is the apple of the eye of his commandments, which we already read that all his commandments, statutes, and judgments are marks of the Most High. But at the center of it, it's the Sabbath day. All right, so now let's carry all of this over. We're about to carry it all over to the mark of the beast. Let's break this down now. That no man might buy or sell. And let me just read it. Revelation 13:16-17. And he causes all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads. Same description, right? And that no man might buy or sell save he that had the mark or the name of the beast or the number of the name of his name. Let me read this for y'all in a different way that you may have never heard this before. Let me get this out of my system. The mark of the beast has nothing to do with the so-called jab. The mark of the beast have nothing to do with a barcode or any type of buying system. we're going to see as we go forward. I'm just saying it right now. The mark of the beast, your average conspiracy theorist couldn't figure out the mark of the beast. If it was the jab, you're telling me the mark of the beast could be figured out and avoided by someone that don't even believe in the Bible. Like, let's make that make sense. Someone that doesn't believe in the Bible, but is avoiding a barcode, a jab, whatever you want to say, can have the understanding as his saints would have. We know that's not how it works. So I just want to free your mind from that. Don't even think about it moving forward. And from my understanding, the jab is a part of defiling your temple. It's not your doomed forever mark type deal. All right. Oh, I like that. I like that, Shekinah. I'll go ahead and read that. Proverbs 7, verse 2. Keep my commandments and you will live. Guard my teachings as the apple of your eye. That means it's your focus. It's your focus in this life. All right. So let's put this in context here. I'm going to read this differently. That no man might buy or sell. Which we're about to read in. You know what? I'm going to read all of it and then I'm going to go over it. I'm going to read. What does the Bible say about buying or selling on the Sabbath? Nehemiah 10:31. And if the people of the land bring ware or any victuals on the Sabbath day to sell, that he would not buy. So if someone did bring something to sell on the Sabbath, that he would not buy it of them on the Sabbath day or on the holy day, and that we would leave the seventh year in the exaction. Well, that's just extra anyway. So no buying or selling on a Sabbath or holy day, because both of those are Sabbaths. Continuing, Nehemiah 13, 15 through 21. In those days saw I in Judah some treading wine presses on the Sabbath, and bringing in sheaves and lading asses, as also wine, grapes, and figs, and all manner of burdens, which they brought into Jerusalem on the Sabbath day. And Jeremiah speaks on this about bringing in burdens in and out your home on the Sabbath day, that's not righteous. I testified against them in the day wherein they sold victuals. There dwelt men of Tyre also therein, which brought fish and all manner of ware, and sold on the Sabbath unto the children of Judah and in Jerusalem. Then I contended with the nobles of Judah and said unto them, what evil thing is this that ye do, and profane the Sabbath day? Did not your fathers thus, and did not our Elohim bring all this evil upon us and upon this city? Yet ye bring more wrath upon Yasharallah by profaning the Sabbath day. And what did they do? What did they do? They were buying and selling. Well, and some of them was working when they were treading the wine presses. But this is specifically focuses talking about the buying or selling. Verse 19, and it came to pass that when the gates of Jerusalem began to be dark before the Sabbath, I commanded that the gates should be shut, and charged that they should not be opened till after the Sabbath. And some of my servants set I at the gates, that there should no burden be brought in the Sabbath day, as I put the note there in Jeremiah 17:22, gave that clear commandment for the Sabbath. So the merchants and sellers of all kind of ware lodged without Jerusalem once or twice. Then I testified against them. Let me say this, y'all. This is how we should be guarding the Sabbath day. I want to listen to this right here. Then I testified against them and said unto them, why lodge ye about the wall? If ye do so again, I will lay my hands on you. From that time forth came they no more on the Sabbath day. So just in a nutshell, from Nehemiah 10:31 to Nehemiah 13, he said, no more buying or selling. Close the gates up. And if y'all even sitting outside on a Sabbath, I'm going to lay my hands on you. Man, Nehemiah's like, stop with this. Yeah, not on my watch. That's how we guard the commandments right there. Say, get out of here, right? Once again, Amos 8:5 is another witness of this. It says, when will the new moon, which while we're here, new moon is a Sabbath, will be over, that we may sell grain. Why are they asking when the new moon is over? Because it's a Sabbath and you can't buy or sell. So when will the new moon be over, that we may sell grain? And the Sabbath, that we may offer wheat for sale. Once again, confirming what Nehemiah is speaking on. And yeah, new moons, new moons, holy days, Sabbaths, no buying or selling. All right, all that being said, now let's put all this in perspective for Revelation 13:16 through 17. To receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell. Exactly. No man might buy or sell. His people do not buy or sell on the Sabbath, except he that had the mark or the name or the number. Did y'all get that? No man might buy or sell on the Sabbath, save he, except those that has the mark of the beast. The mark of the beast isn't a barcode. It isn't permission to buy or sell. The mark of the beast is showing the people that had the audacity to buy or sell on the Sabbath day. There is only two teams. If you're not with the Most High, you're against the Most High. If you are buying or selling, you're the one with the mark, because the center of worship is the Sabbath day. If you are breaking the Sabbath day, what do we go over? You shall be put to death. What happens to those that have the mark of the beast? Death. What happens to those that breaks the Sabbath day and profanes it? Death. Once again, he causes all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their forehead, and that no man might buy or sell on the Sabbath except he that had the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. And a lot of people go, why is the mark of the beast only mentioned in the book of Revelation? It's because the mark of the beast is mentioned because everyone is faced with this judgment at the same time. We're going to see by the end of this study, the mark of the beast has been here from the beginning. It just hasn't been descriptively written this way, because this is specifically talking about the entire world meeting their maker, their judgment upon his arrival. And so when everyone is faced with that, he's telling you, you're marked, you're marked, you're marked, you're marked. We're going to read in the canon, in the scriptures, in this study, that there are markings of the beast. They just, as it specifically says the mark of the beast, but he's been telling people they've been marked by the beast from the beginning. And it's the same outcome, death. The same outcome. All right. Hope that's as clear as it can get. Why would his people buy or sell on the Sabbath? Only those that are marked by the beast will. We just finished Feast of Dedication. This should be just a review for many of you. So many good pulls from this. So we speak about Feast of what was will be again, Ecclesiastes. What was will be again. What was it? I think chapter 1, verse 9, Ecclesiastes. So let's read. What was, which shall be again. First Maccabees chapter 1, verse 41 through 57. Then the king wrote to his whole kingdom that all should be one people. Remember, all the nations have drunk the wine of Babylon, and that the devil deceives the whole world upon the second coming. So all the people are one with the devils in the time that we're in right now, and that each should give up his customs. All the Gentiles accepted the command of the king. Many, even from Yasharallah, gladly adopted his religion. They sacrificed to idols and profaned the Sabbath. You see how it's singled out over and over again? It's singled out. And the king sent letters by messengers to Jerusalem and the cities of Judah. He directed them to follow customs strange to the land, to forbid burnt offerings and sacrifices and drink offerings in the sanctuary, to profane Sabbaths and feasts, to defile the sanctuary and the priest, to build altars and sacred precincts and shrines for idols, to sacrifice swine and unclean animals, to leave their sons uncircumcised. They were to make themselves abominable by everything unclean and profane, so that they should forget the law and change all the ordinances. And whoever does not obey the command of the king shall die. You see that? Do y'all see this? This is the same thing what the beast is going to do to the Most High saints that will have to prove themselves by being beheaded in the book of Revelation. You see, the beast is a copycat, right? We know this. The Most High has a mark. What's the opposite of the Most High's mark? Is the opposite is the beast's mark. Those that don't keep the commandments and does strange worship, and that profanes the Sabbath. And then, if you don't keep the Most High Sabbath, you die. If you don't keep the devil's commandments, you die. But which Elohim are we fearing? It's the same exact thing. But you're either fearing the one that can kill the body, or you're fearing the one that can judge and kill the soul. Choose. 51. In such words he wrote to his whole kingdom, and he appointed inspectors over the people and commanded the cities of Judah to offer sacrifice city by city. Many of the people, everyone who forsook the law, joined them, and they did evil in the land. They drove Israel into hiding in every place of refuge they had. Now on the 15th day of the 9th month, in the 100, they erected a desolate sacrilege upon the altar of burnt offering. They also burnt altars in the surrounding cities of Judah and burnt incense at the doors of the houses and in the streets. The books of the law which they found, they tore to pieces and burnt with fire. Where the book of the covenant was found in the possession of anyone, or if anyone adhered to the law, the decree of the king condemned him to death. And this is exactly what I believe is going to happen. I think it's going to be like a mirror version of it. In those last few days, everyone that wants to hold on to those laws that are still here will be judged by Satan and killed, because this is prophecy. Second Maccabees chapter 6, continuing with the same understanding. For the temple was filled with debauchery, and reviling by the Gentiles who dallied with harlots. What's Mystery Babylon called? A harlot. And had intercourse with women within the sacred precincts, and besides brought in things for sacrifice that were unfit. The altar was covered with abominable offerings, which were forbidden by the law. A man could neither keep the Sabbath. Remember that. You cannot keep the Sabbath with the devil's mark. That's the difference. You have to keep the Sabbath with the Most High's mark. You cannot keep the Sabbath with the devil's mark. Nor observe the feast of his fathers, nor so much as confess himself to be a Jew. On the monthly celebration of the king's birthday, the Jews were taken under bitter constraint to partake of the sacrifices. When the feast of Dionysus came, they were compelled to walk in the procession in honor of Dionysus. That's what I'm saying. You're going to be forced into idolatry. Wearing rafts of ivy. At the suggestion of Ptolemy, a decree was issued to the neighboring Greek cities that they should adopt the same policy towards the Jews and make them partake of the sacrifices, and should slay those who did not choose to change over to Greek customs. One could see therefore the misery that had come upon them. So let me put things in perspective real quick though. We see in these times in the book of Maccabees that they're making it's just clear cut. They'll stop in their worship and they're making you do their worship. In our days, it's going to be a little bit more deceiving than that. It isn't going to be as clear cut. I mean, one of the basic examples is what day is the Sabbath on for many congregations, right? There's many different Sabbaths. There's many different ways people are carrying out scriptural doctrine. So that being said, that is going to help with the confusion on keeping his Sabbaths in the latter days. So there, in other words, all of this is a little bit more clear cut for their time, and it won't be as clear cut for our time. Really got to pay attention in a higher spiritual state for the identifiers, which is why what we're going to go over in this study, and why we're going to go over it, which is the purpose of the identifiers of the beast. All right. Let's continue. And once again, I told you about we spoke about the beast in Revelation, chapter 13, verse 1 and 2, that it was a mixture beast. The world is telling you that they're united. These religions, like let me talk to you, each individual person. You knowing the truth that you know, if you had a building of worship to assemble, to have a holy convocation, would you be okay with fellowshipping with other religions in the same community in a sense of oneness, coming together? Of course not. You would be like, I don't really do that. I'm not really trying to fellowship with Islam. I'm not really trying to fellowship with Catholicism. I'm not trying to really fellowship with Christianity because, y'all worshiping other deities. The world's telling you that we can coexist. Exactly, Bruce. They're saying we can't coexist. We're not that much different. That's the point. That's the point I've been making this entire study. If you're worried about the Pope and you ain't checking your own religion out, if you're not dissecting and fact-checking every doctrine that has been brought to you from anywhere from the world, and finding out and dividing the traditions of man with the Holy Scriptures, you're going to be stamped with the mark of the beast. you will be deceived. Yes, exactly, Tracy. We're called to be set apart. And the world is showing you that these religions are all serving the same gods. They're on the same team. Look at this. To offer the opportunity for worshipers to participate in and learn about religious services, listen to Holy Scripture, and experience sacred rituals. What? What? Why would I want to learn from different religions if they're wrong? That's what the world is trying to get you. And we see this figure 8 up here as well, right? If you know, you know. But they're showing us over and over again that these religions are of the beast system, which is the entire world now. All right, so now we have the base understanding of what is the mark of the Most High and the mark of the beast. We got to get into the details. If the Sabbath is the center foundation of having the mark of the Most High and having the mark of the beast, if you choose not to keep it, we have to dissect what is the makeup of the Sabbath day. It is a moed, which means appointed time. Revelation 7. And I saw another angel ascending from the east, having the seal of the living Elohim. And he cried with a loud voice to the 4 angels to whom it was given to hurt the earth and the sea, saying, hurt not the earth, neither the sea, nor the trees, till we have sealed the servants of our Elohim in their what? Foreheads. Once again, same description. Those that are walking in his commandments will have an opportunity to be sealed by the Most High because they have the mark of the Most High in their foreheads. Let's carry this on to Revelation 14. And they sung as it were a new song. So these are those that were sealed before the throne and before the 4 beasts and the elders. And no man could learn that song but the 144,000, which were redeemed from the earth. These are they which were not defiled with women. All over the book of Revelation, it talks about the harlot of Mystery Babylon, and how the entire world as drinking the wrath of her fornication. So when it talks about not defiled with women, it's talking about the harlots. Every land is referred to as a woman. Jerusalem is a woman. Babylon is a woman. Every landmass is referred to as a woman, which is where you kind of get the idea of Mother Earth. The earth is a feminine state. That's why you put a seed in the ground, life comes up out of it, just like in a woman, a womb. Okay? So when it says not defiled with women, it's talking about not doing the things of the other nations, the heathen, the Gentiles. For they are virgins, which means they have repented. And we know when we truly repent and turn from our sins are washed away and forgotten. So they are made clean like virgins. These are they which follow the Lamb wherever he goeth. Follows him wherever he goes. If I'm going to meet Messiah somewhere, I can't go anytime I want, can I? I need to make sure I meet him at that time, which is an appointment. Truly believe that's what this sentence means. These are they which follow the Lamb whither he goeth. So if Mashiach's keeping Passover, I'm keeping Passover when Messiah's keeping Passover. You can't We have to be realistic with scripture. If you think it's not a big deal to be on the right appointment, that's like saying in the first Passover, they could have put blood on their doorpost a week later. It mattered when they put the blood on the doorpost, did it not? The timing in scripture always has mattered. No one in scripture says, I keep the Sabbath day anytime I want. No one in scripture is doing what they want when they want. And so if Messiah's being at appointments, we best believe be trying our hardest to be there with him. Continuing, these were redeemed. So who was redeemed? Those that are not fornicating with women, other nations, that have repented and that are keeping his commandments and his moedim, his appointed times. Being the first fruits, which is the elect of Elohim, and to the Lamb. And in their mouths was found no guile, for they are without fault before the throne of Elohim. And I saw another angel fly in the midst of heaven, having the everlasting gospel to preach unto them that dwell on the earth, and to every nation in kindred and tongue and peoples. This is another point to make in verse 6. Why is the mark of the beast labeled for our time? Because it's a time where all the earth will hear some type of gospel. A lot of different gospels out here, but all the earth will hear something from the good book of scripture, and they all will be judged. This is why where it's a precedented point of the mark of the beast, because this is the only time in history where a whole people, all nations, are going to be judged. And they're all going to be judged after hearing the everlasting gospel. So they are going to be judged righteously. Continuing, verse 7. Saying with a loud voice, fear Elohim and give glory to him, for the hour of his judgment is come, and worship him that made heaven and earth and the sea and the fountains of waters. And there followed another angel saying, Babylon is fallen, that great city, because she made all nations drink of the wine of the wrath of her fornication. And the third angel followed them, saying with a loud voice, if any man worship the beast and his image and receive his mark in his forehead and his, or wait a minute. Oh, okay. In his forehead or in his hand, the same shall drink of the wine of the wrath of Elohim. So we see, it's like I said, you do what the devil does, then he may not kill you himself in these latter days, but the Most High will take your flesh and your soul. It's exact opposites. I mean, exact opposites. Which is poured out without mixture into the cup of indignation, and he shall be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of the holy angels and in the presence of the Lamb. And the smoke of their torment ascendeth up forever and ever, and they have no rest day nor night, who worship the beast and his image, and whosoever receiveth the mark of his name. Here is the patience of the saints. Here are they that keep the commandments of Elohim in the faith of Yeshua HaMashiach. It right there, verse 11 tells you the mark of the beast is the opposite in verse 12. Obviously, it's those that don't keep the commandments and have the testimony. Obviously, it tells you in verse 11, those that has the image, the mark, the name, and then blessed be the patience of the saints that keep the commandments with the testimony of Messiah. Now, I want to elaborate on that last verse, verse 12. The commandments and the testimony. Now, most of us have come from the church, churchianity, right? Now, does it matter what testimony we have of Messiah? Is there a false testimony of Messiah? I think we all can say yes, right? There is a false testimony of Messiah. There is a false version of Messiah. So, if you are coming with the testimony of the false Messiah, is that the same? No. I say that because we have to understand that there is a false understanding of keeping the commandments. One of the biggest things about in these latter days that I see that is going to be, I don't know, I let the Most High divide his sheep from the goats. And I don't know how he's going to judge those that are not keeping his commandments. They are keeping another God's commandments. We know the base of it is Judaism. Judaism, and even the Catholic Church has their own 10 commandments now. You can be keeping commandments in a religion, and is that his Torah? No. What is the deception of Judaism if there is no problem keeping their commandments? My point is, there is a difference between Judaism's commandments, Judaism's Sabbaths, or even any other religion, Islam, even these other Hebrew Israelite religions. There's only one Torah. There's only one Torah. Who they are speaking about in verse 12 right here is talking about one Torah. Now, if you are blindly keeping the wrong one, then that's up to Messiah, our judge, to separate the sheep from the goat. He will search your heart. But we have to understand there's only one Torah. And if you're not keeping that one Torah, he ain't talking about you in Revelation 14:12. This is why we have to study to show thyself approved, and why we have to be hustling, meditating on his word every day. Because what is the deception in religion if you can keep it with no punishment? That being said, the basics of this, people always would say in the basic, I would say the churchianity, that is at least I would say the Seventh-day Adventist, or in Judaism, I would say, will say this right here. If they do conclude the mark of the beast isn't the jab or a barcode, this is usually the conclusion. They'll say the Saturday is the seventh-day Sabbath, and Sunday law is the mark of the beast. And once again, I've said this at the beginning, you're in a world of trouble if you're thinking the mark of the beast is from one nation, okay? And they'll go and they'll quote things from popes, such as the things below. Of course, the Catholic Church claims that the change Saturday Sabbath to Sunday was her act, and the act is a mark of her ecclesiastica authority in religious things. And then another one, observance of Sunday by the Protestants is a homage they pay in spite of themselves to the authority of the Catholic Church. And then another one, reason and sense demand the acceptance of one or the other of these alternatives, etc., etc., etc. Y'all get it. Sunday is our mark. No point of marinating on this because we know it doesn't end here. Is this one of the marks of the beast? Yes, it is one of the marks of the beast. But is it the mark of the beast? No. That's why I was saying from the beginning, let's keep the same energy all the way through. There are many beasts, many Satans, many antichrists. Many. Don't ever get caught up on poking at one religion, acting like the papacy is the reason for the world. They are a very big monster, very big beast found in the book of Revelation, but they are not the end all in the sense of the mark, the name, the number, and etc. But yes, of course, they're very evil, just like everybody, all the other religions in the world, though. So, yes, can Sunday law, Sunday worship be a part of the marking of the beast? Absolutely. But we're not done there. We're not done. Let's continue. This is the main thing with understanding. We talked about the Sabbath being a moedim, an appointment. So we know Sunday isn't it. We're past that. We're not just fresh out of churchianity anymore, where this could have slid, right? This could have slid when you first came out of the church, when you first realized that we should have been keeping the Sabbath. You might have said it's the Sunday, but we're now chewing on meat. We're past this, so let's continue. And so now we know that signs are from the heavens for our calendar, which is how we get our Sabbath, which will put Saturday Sabbath in question. Genesis 1:14. And Elohim said, let there be lights in the firmament of heaven to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs and for seasons and for days and years. Jeremiah 10:2. Thus says the Most High, learn not the way of the heathen, and not be dismayed at the signs of heaven, for the heathen are dismayed at them. Over and over, we're going to see that the heavens or just play a huge instrumental part in all these signs that we read about throughout the book. So this is a video we're about to go to. Let me share it. So the Gregorian calendar is a sun worship calendar. It's a calendar that only uses the sun. How do we get our days? We get our days because the sun rises and the sun sets, and then we wait for the next day, and then it does it again. There's no moon involved. A lot of people don't realize that the Gregorian calendar is a sun calendar. They still do use luminaries, and it's the only thing they're using to divide the days and the months is a solar clock. And we're going to talk. This video is about Gregory, Pope Gregory. This calendar, if you didn't know, it's Gregorian calendar. Gregorian is named after Gregory. We are under a calendar made by a pope, if you didn't know that. So let's hear about it.
He was also a patron of the newly formed Order of the Society of Jesus. The Jesuits grew due to his patronage and founded numerous seminaries and universities. Gregory worked with the Jesuit priest and astronomer Christopher Clavius on reforming the calendar, consequently producing the Gregorian calendar.
All right. Quick and to the point video there. Let's go back and share screen. So as we heard, not only is he was a pope, he's also a Jesuit. I mean, if you know, you know. This study is not for that. This to talk about the details of the Jesuits and whatnot. But if you know, you know. Yeah. So we have Pope Gregory is the origin of our modern day calendar. So how could it ever be right? He's a pope. And that's the thing, that's the irony behind it. People will say that the Pope is the beast and that Sunday worship. And they're over here like, oh my goodness. But then they'll use the same calendar that was made by a Pope to identify their Sabbath. Oh man. Oh man, like let's make it make sense. How's that make any sense? Which one is it? If the Pope is the beast, then how can we use the Gregorian calendar? At least for the Most High's calendar, right? And before the Gregorian calendar, you had the Julian calendar, which was after Julius Caesar. So we have two flaming heathens that is a part of the last two calendars that the majority of man around the world has followed. And we're keeping that for the Most High's calendar. I mean, let's make it make sense. Are they is this a calendar that is using the luminaries according to scripture? No. There's no evidence of it at all. And the last person that or the person that coordinated and built this calendar was the Pope. The same people that are running around saying Sunday is the mark of the beast, but they ain't talking about this though. They'll say, "Oh, it's always been the same." Says who? What information are you talking about? Find it with the luminaries, etc., etc. So, just like you want to talk about Sunday, Saturday is looking pretty shaky right now. You can't find this Saturday Sabbath based on the luminaries. And this calendar is based off of Gregory, the Pope. All right, let's keep it moving. And we had warnings. We have warnings. This is the thing that just kills me with so many folks that I try to show them is that they do not heed to the warnings. Daniel 7:25. And he shall speak great words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High, and think to change times and laws. Wow. And this is talking directly to the beast of Rome as well, especially in the book of Daniel. And they shall be given into his hand until a time and times and divided of times. So the purpose of changing times and laws was not just to allow to establish their kingdom, but it is one and the same of wearing out the saints of the Most High. I mean, it's right here. It's right here. And we have a second witness also in Second Baruch chapter 48. And it shall come to pass at the self same time that a change of time shall manifestly appear to every man. Because in all those times they polluted themselves and they practiced oppression and walked every man in his own works and remembered not the law of the mighty one. And during this time is what Enoch prophesies that after Messiah, there will be an apostate generation, a generation that will leave the Most High's commandments and go into their own religion. And that's when it happened, and that's what Second Baruch is speaking on. And yes, that's also what talks about how in different languages they were talking about Saturday in the Sabbath is synonymous with Saturday in different languages. And I spoke on this in the past that people that say that are speaking about calendars that are not ancient. I'll say it again. They're like, oh, but Sabbath and Saturday and on the calendars are synonymous at the same time. Guys, your calendars are not ancient. None of those calendars are Hebrew-based calendars on an ancient luminary clock. None of them. None. It's like I could make a calendar tomorrow and do the same thing that the Pope did. Does that make my calendar more right than anybody else's? It's because I'm just mirroring what the world has already have established. It's we have to think. That's why we always need scripture to back up what we're saying. Because when people go around saying things like, oh, but in Spanish and in this, all of these calendars line up with the Saturday. Guys, these calendars have no weight compared to what we're reading about in scripture. They carry no weight. They have no value, and they don't line up with not one thing that you can find in scripture. Like, we have to make it make sense. All right, so the warning, he tells us that this was going to happen. So don't go by it. All right, so let's get to the top of the head of this religion that is pushing Saturday Sabbath, which is why outside of the religion of Seventh-day Adventists, we have the religion of Judaism, which is headlined by the Ashkenazi Jews. And I found this online. I thought it was just fitting. I don't recommend, this is a book right here. I don't recommend the book. I never read it. I just thought it was fitting that it talks about Turkish people in search of Jewish identity. And it's funny because that's the idea. They're searching for Jewish identity because they're in Judaism. They're searching for something that's not theirs, because they are Turkish people. They're not Israelites. But looking into scripture of Ashkenazi, right? Or Ashkenazic right here, but Ashkenazic in Genesis 10:3, the sons of Gomer, these are the sons of Japheth. Ashkenaz, I can't get any more clear than that. And when we go at the end of these people, it tells you who are the Ashkenaz. They are the isles of the Gentiles. I'll pause. I'll wait. I've searched, and I've even asked someone in Judaism that believes in the Ashkenazi Jews. And I said, so if the Ashkenazi Jews are Jews, then who are the Ashkenazis in the scriptures? I have yet to find a legitimate answer to this. And let's be real. If you're a real descendant of Judah, you're not going to be an Ashkenazi Jew. You're going to be a Jew from Ashkenaz. You're not going to be an Ashkenaz Jew. You're going to be a Jew from Ashkenaz. All right. But till this day, I don't know how do they separate. I don't know how do they separate the people that are supposed to be the Gentiles in Genesis 10 with everybody else that's supposed to be Jews. It makes no sense to me. And then, once again, Jeremiah 10:2, thus says the Most High, learn not the way of the heathen. The word heathen here is the same word for Gentile. So, well, I would say there's more. You have Ashkenazi Jews, and then you have the Sephardic, but the people that's in the land is headlined by the Ashkenazis. So that's what we're focusing on here. But want to just mention that there are different types of Jews that aren't Jews in the state of Israel. We're just focusing on the base of them, which is Ashkenaz, and they are Gentiles. Learn not the ways of the heathen. And what is everybody doing in Judaism? Learning the ways of the heathen. I mean, goodness. And once again, Revelation 2:9 and 3:9 lets us know, it gives us two witnesses. It repeats it twice, makes it very clear. Revelation 2:9 and 3:9 that there are Jews that say they are Jews but are not, but are the synagogue of Satan. And this is what it's about. Don't just look at the papacy and Sunday worship. Let's look at the entire world and all the different so-called truths to keep our Father's commandments. Because if you're following them, you're following the ways of the heathen, which is what we've been commanded not to do. And we're going to focus on the meat of who I mean when I say the synagogue of Satan. And let me say this real quick. I want to make sure I make this clear. If you are born of the seed of Ashkenaz, can you be reborn and grafted into Israel? I see no reason not. We read in the Torah how the Moabites cannot be grafted into Israel, but Ashkenazis, there's no other command for anything like that. So I just want to make it clear this is not specifically talking to any individual that is from the seed of Ashkenaz. This is not picking on just any random person that is seeking salvation. But this is specifically referring to people that are from the Ashkenaz seed. And that's just the way it turns out. These are the people that will be carrying out the synagogue of Satan in the latter days. Okay, I just want to make that crystal clear. Not everyone is, because I believe, in my understanding, should be considered the synagogue of Satan just because you are from the seed of Ashkenaz. But if you are a part of this foundation of the Rothschilds and others that I'm going to be talking about, a part of their system and their religion of Judaism, then you are of the synagogue of Satan. But like I said, that is a choice. It's a choice to be under the stronghold and the belief of the base Jewish family. And as we see, Rothschilds, Jewish noble banking family. And it's clear as day, it tells us that the Rothschilds family are Ashkenazi Jews. Boom. Tells us right there that they are who we thought they are, right? And you can pause and read all the detail, but I just wanted to point out that the family was elevated to noble rank in the Holy Roman Empire and the UK. Pretty powerful figures in Bible prophecy, if you ask me. You have the Balfour Declaration, 1917. Look it up. This was the first initiation for the Zionist state of the state of Israel over there right now. And who was this letter from and to? And if you can see it, Lord Rothschild was the first request to the king for a state of Israel. What else? What else can we talk about with the base of the synagogue of Satan? Let's look over here. The Supreme Court of Israel has an Eye of Providence pyramid on the building. And it was designed and paid for by the Rothschilds. So we have the Supreme Court, which has the pyramid, which is found on our dollar bill. I wonder why. The banking system. And if you go, you can look this up on Google Maps. The Supreme Court of Israel is built on the street called Rothschild. Can't even make this up, right? So this is the base of the synagogue of Satan right here. So many more names. Yes, you have the Rockefellers. You have so many more names. It is all associated with the money. The money. And Rothschild loans to the Holy See. What is the Holy See? Oh, the Holy See is what owns the Vatican. So when it talks about the noble rank in the Holy Roman Empire, yes, the Rothschilds is funding the Vatican in layman's terms. You can do your own homework on all of these bankers and the people that are associated with the Rothschilds. Rothschilds are just in the center of it, but you got the 13 bloodlines, and it's all associated with these folks. This is the synagogue of Satan. And all the people that is associated with and choose to be associated with the synagogue of Satan should be labeled as such. We have the bankers. We have the TV peoples, the news telling us lies, brainwashing the youth and the old. Shoot. We have the jabs. We have pharmakia in general, all a part of the synagogue of Satan. Like I said, I'm not talking about the random man or woman that just was born in it. I'm talking about those that are a part of it, a part of deceiving the masses and leading us to eternal damnation. And I want to make it a note that by no coincidence, the two churches that doesn't receive criticism, Smyrna and Philadelphia, Revelation 2:9, Revelation 3:9. Both of them are of the churches that I believe know who the synagogue of Satan are. And they receive no criticism, probably because they're dodging Judaism's doctrine and churchianity. If you know who the synagogue of Satan is, you got to know what's up with churchianity. I don't think you could do both of those. I don't think you could still be in churchianity and know the deceptions of Judaism. So by no coincidence, the two churches with no no criticism knows of Judaism. For there shall rise false Christs, false prophets, and shall show great signs and wonders, insomuch that if it were possible, they shall deceive the very elect. If it was possible. So these great signs are signs of the commandments and how to keep it, which is what these churches should be trying to avoid. The doctrine from these people, the jab from these people, the pharmakia from these people, etc. Those that know of them, that the letter was specifically written about, happens to not have criticism because at least the Church of Philadelphia, if it was possible, they shall deceive the elect. And that's what we want to be, on the right side of Bible prophecy. And I want to point out, I don't know how things are going to fold out. I don't know. All I can do is show the warning signs. If we do come to a point where the 7 Noahide laws are instated, this is what we should pay attention to. We see do not deny the Most High, blaspheme, murder, sexual relations, steal, eating a live animal, and create a legal system of justice. There's no these 7 Noahide laws are supposed to be for the Gentiles, and so the whole trap with Judaism is if you're not a part of Judaism, which is the synagogue of Satan, these are your laws. And do you understand the trap in that? You either are in Judaism and you keep the 7th-day Sabbath, which we have as Saturday every year, or you can be a Gentile and just follow the Noahide laws, which they don't keep the Sabbath either. And then when you even go and search it up, here's a website right here, Ask Noah, a website just about talking about the Noahide laws. Can a Noahide pursue his regular course of employment on Saturday, which is what they have as a Sabbath? The answer is yes, in a nutshell. Another question, is it permissible for a Noahide, aka a Gentile, to purchase items and travel on the Sabbath? Yes. So that's the trick. I don't know how it's going to unfold. I don't know what it's going to look like, but if it does, it seems like there's going to be a choice to be made. If you're not in Judaism keeping the Saturday Sabbath, which is a trick, you can go on the side of the Noahides, which don't keep the Sabbath neither. Once again, deception around every corner. Take heed to the warning. But these Noahide laws are dumb anyway. If you keep it, if we're doing what you need to do, don't worry about none of this. And this is how we're going to be tested. We so many people when we read it talks about being beheaded for his name's sake and denying Messiah. This is how you deny Messiah. People think that they're going to have a gun to your head and be like, "Do you believe in Jesus? Yes or no?" No, it's going to be like this. Hey, keep these. Hey, do these if you want to be safe. They're going to tell you what to do, and if you're not paying attention, that's how you're going to take the mark of the beast. It isn't going to be some plain Jane. Hey, do you love Jesus? It ain't going to look like that at all. That's churchianity doctrine, man. This is how you get the mark of the beast, through obedience and by profaning the Sabbath day. That's what I was saying when we read Maccabees. It was straightforward in their face. Straightforward. It ain't going to be like that in our times. There's going to be deception if you do not know his commandments. And I highly recommend, if you're somehow watching this study before watching my Path of Righteousness, to put in all of this about the luminaries and the Moedims, the appointed times, the Sabbaths, the feast days, and new moons. You have to watch this. It's a must watch. And I even have part 2 if you want to keep rolling after that. Because the Sabbath and the Most High's calendar is based on the moon and the sun. Like I said, the Gregorian calendar is just the sun calendar. It's not based on the sun and the moon. We need both witnesses. Ecclesiasticus 43, 6 and 8. He made the moon also to serve in her season for a declaration of times. Like I said, the Gregorian calendar does not use the moon for times at all. A sign of the world. From the moon is the sign of feast, a light that decreases in her perfection. The month is called after her name, increasing wonderfully in her changing, being an instrument of the armies above, shining in the firmament of heaven. So we need the moon. The moon are for feast and for months. The month is called after her name. And so we're going further and further into the deception. We're going into all of it. We're in a low-key luminary study right here on this portion. And let's look into this. Enoch tells us also, remember we just read about? I want to tell you that scripture has given us warnings of all these deception. I'm going to go all the way up for it. We see right here, we talked about the Gregorian calendar and how it's after Pope Gregory. And Daniel tells us, and Second Baruch tells us to watch out for a change of times and laws, that it will be changed, and to watch out for the laws and not to learn the ways of the Gentiles. We're getting all these warnings, right? Well, we're getting warnings on even the moon phase. Even the moon phase, we got warnings. Enoch 80, and in those days of the sinners, the years shall be shortened, and their seed shall be tardy on their lands and fields, and all the things on the earth shall alter, and shall not appear in their time, and the rain shall be kept back, and the heavens shall withhold it. And in those times, the fruits of the earth shall be backward, and shall not grow in their time, and the fruits of the trees shall be withheld in their time. And the moon shall alter her order and not appear at her time. So some people read this and go, "Oh, so what's wrong with the moon?" Guys, it's not the moon. It's not the moon. What do we just read in Daniel and Second Baruch? That there will be a change of times in the days of the sinners, because they're changing the times to us. They're teaching us falsely. And we can confirm this because in the same book, Enoch 72, it tells us that the book of the courses of the luminaries of heaven, in the relation of each, according to their classes, their dominion, and their seasons, according to their names and places of origin, according to their months, which Uriel, the holy angel who was with me, who is their guide, showed me. And listen, he showed me all their laws exactly as they are, and how it is with regard to all the years of the world unto eternity, till the new creation is established, which endureth till eternity. So, in a nutshell, he showed the laws of the luminaries, including the moon, and he's saying this is exactly how they're going to be till eternity. So when it says the moon shall alter her order, the moon never can alter her order. Never. Never. This is speaking about in the eyes of the sinners, as we just got done reading. And Gad the Seer, if you haven't read that book, solid book that is quoted and validated with scripture. And after the voice, a great quake occurred that shook over the impurity and flew the donkey and the camel, which is two impure animals, unclean animals, into the moon with a stormy wind. And the moon was opened and looked like a bow, which is a sliver moon, a semicircle, and both her points reach towards the ground, which is this illustration. And so what I'm pointing out is most pagan cultures worship the sliver moon. We have a new moon for Judaism over here. A waxing crescent. Then we have the symbol of uncleanness that we just read in Gad, the seer, chapter 1, verse 11 and 12. That impurity went into the moon and made it a crescent. And then we have a waxing crescent, which is, a waning crescent, which is Islam. And then even in Egyptian, the moon god in Egyptian mythology is a sliver moon. And even just going and showing you just how much is perverted. We have the Jesuits. We mentioned that Pope Gregory was a Jesuit. Their symbol is a darkened out. A lot of people don't even see what this sun is. People just see a stylized sun. This is a total eclipse, a darkened moon in front of a sun, representation of a false light. Enoch 41:8, the course of the path of the moon is light to the righteous and darkness to the sinners, in the name of Hayah, who made a separation between the light and the darkness and divided the spirits of men and strengthened the spirits of the righteous in the name of his righteousness. And once again, in Gad chapter 1, I saw that impurity was driven from the moon and was given over to the consuming wrath, ground into fine dust and blown away by the daily wind. And the day burns as a furnace to remove impurity and to erase the transgressions. And the Lamb was put on the moon forever and ever. The Lamb is the light. And what is a moon that has light? Well, obviously a full light, a full moon, right? So we see a very big part of the of how you find the Moedims, the Sabbath, which is the marking of his saints, is through the luminaries, and specifically the moon, which has been perverted, which has taught us a false representation of the moon, which was spoken about in Enoch chapter 80. All right, taking you down a little rabbit hole with this gematria. Gematria is a numerology-based system that the devils of this world use. And I'm just showing you just how relevant the heavens are in terms with the with the heavens. So we have the synagogue of Satan is a gematria of 223. We know Skull and Bones, which is a occult group that George Bush is a part of. And we see 322. The numbers are the same forward or backwards in gematria. And this is a book I'm reading from the books of Letters and Numbers, which is a book that breaks down gematria of the way the devils use it. And so I'm just going to focus on the highlighted. If you want to read the rest in your own time, by all means. It says where the significance. Oh, well, I wanted to point out here that 223 is the 48th prime number. So 48 is directly connected to 223. All right. Where the significance of 223 originates is the Saros, a measurement for predicting eclipses, and how modern science is able to be so accurate with such calculations, as each eclipse is working on perfect pattern that is 223 synodic months, which means conjunction months. So in a nutshell, where did it get the number 223 from, or 322? They got it from the heavens, specifically the moon when it is in eclipse. This is how they worship the heavens. You see how they get you to doing worshiping the moon. Even their numbers are used based on the luminaries. And just showing the connection of 48 and 223, the state of Israel's birth was in 1948. 223 is the 48th prime number. And by no coincidence, the year this year, 2023, was Saturday, was a Sabbath. By no coincidence. Continuing with this is the origin of 322 or 223, is based on the cycle of eclipses. When we go to, when you're looking up the eclipses, you see the term occultation. Occultation. Occultation is the state of being hidden from view or lost to the notice. That's an eclipse. Occult is to shut off from view or exposure. And the second definition is to not reveal the same. The third definition is where you get the word occult from. So my point I'm getting is 322 or 223 and the word occult comes from the moon in the heavens. This is how much they are in play and how much big of a deal this is in understanding the heavens. And why? What did it say? Do not be dismayed at the heavens as the heathens are dismayed. This is what the heathens are doing. They literally call themselves the occult, and the occult is based on the moon eclipses, which we see mysticism or occult knowledge is a part of Jewish tradition. And check this out. Occult means to cover up, right? So this is what's going on here. The devils of this world wants to make their own wisdom that they conceal. But guess what Messiah came and was doing? Let's read this. John 8:20 and 21. Yeshua answered him, I have spoken openly to the world. I have always taught in synagogues and in the temple, where all the Jews come together. I have said nothing in secret. Why do you ask me? Ask those who have heard me what I said to them. They know what I said. And if there's anything that is concealed, it is concealed by our Father, not by man. The occult is based on worldly knowledge from man, from Satan to man. And the only hidden knowledge is of the Most High, as in Deuteronomy 29:29. The secret things belong to the Most High, our Elohim, but the things that are revealed belong to us and to our children forever, that we may do all the words of this law. So, just in a nutshell, just showing you just how important the understanding of the luminaries are, because your adversary is going to be using it against you. So, the less amount that you know, the more they can get a foothold in your life. Septuagint, chapter 6, verse 3, ye who are approaching the evil day, who are drawing near and adopting false Sabbaths. This is only found in the Septuagint. It was removed for a reason, right? And who is adopting false Sabbaths? We read in the following chapter, at the end of the chapter. You see, this is the beginning of chapter 6. And this is the end of chapter 5. The beginning of chapter 6 is continuing what chapter 5 was speaking on. It's speaking to one group of people. And those are Israelites that have taken the religion of Judaism. I hate and I despise your feast days. So this is talking to his people. And I will not smell your solemn assemblies. Though ye offer me burnt offerings and your meat offerings, I will not accept them. Neither will I regard the peace offerings of your fat beasts. Take thou away from me the noise of thy songs, for I will not hear the melody of thy viols. But let judgment run down as water and righteousness as mighty stream. Have ye offered unto me sacrifices and offerings in the wilderness 40 years, O house of Yasharallah? But ye have borne the tabernacle of Malak, Chuin, which is the same thing as Remphan, Saturn, your images, the star of your God, which ye made to yourselves. And as we see here, this is spoken about again. So we see, and let's understand this too. Judaism isn't a people. So we know nowadays that we have the synagogue of Satan, and they declare the religion of Judaism. But Judaism is a religion. So the Jews that was keeping the religion of Judaism in this time were real Israelites. But the Jews keeping the Judaism nowadays is not real Israelites. So I just want to clarify, like, Judaism is a religion. Jews are a people. Okay? And so we see that Remphan is Saturn. Saturn is Satan. Satan means adversary. And adversary can be anybody. So we see that every year Saturday Sabbath is debunked because it doesn't use the luminaries and it's associated directly with Saturn worship. And we see the dots connecting from the Old Testament, the book of Amos, that they were adopting false Sabbaths, adopting the star of Remphan, connected. And we see the same thing going on in the New Testament. Acts 7, Stephen preaching to a group of Jews once again, because they're doing the same thing that their fathers were doing, the tradition of their fathers. Ye took the tabernacle of Malak, the star of your god Remphan, figures which ye made to worship them. And I will carry you away beyond Babylon. And they cast him, Stephen, out of the city and stoned him. And the witnesses laid down their clothes at a young man's feet, whose name was Saul, which we know later came Paul. Let's connect all these dots now. So Paul wrote in Galatians 1. So Paul was the ringleader that got Stephen stoned here, obviously. And Paul wrote, for ye have heard of my conversion in time past in the Jews' religion, which is Judaism. How that beyond measure I prosecuted the church of Elohim and wasted it. So what was he in when he prosecuted the church? As we just read in Acts 7, he was in Judaism. and profited in the Jews' religion above many of my equals in my own nation, being more exceedingly zealous of the tradition of my fathers. The tradition of his fathers is Judaism, which embodies the Star of Remphan, Malak worship. So, Saturday worship, things that are of Judaism, which is headlined by the Synagogue of Satan, Ashkenaz Jews. Enough said, right? Enough said. Let's continue. So, once again, heed the warning. Heed the warning, Yasharallah. If you're not using the luminaries, the sun and the moon, for your appointed times, if you're not paying attention to the moon phase and fully understand why you are picking the moon phase, even if you're here keeping the full moon, you know how many people that has been here and kept the full moon and now they're back keeping the sliver? Because you never really understood it to begin with. It's easy to be swayed to the left and to the right when you don't understand anything that you're doing. So study, understand why you're keeping the Moedims, the timing that you're doing, because it matters. Or someone could just come and throw a verse in your face. I had somebody that went to a dark moon that was a part of this fellowship, and I asked him, I was like, why are you on a dark moon? A dark moon? What happened? And he sent a verse from the Sefer. That's Psalms 81, when it says, we'll blow the trumpet on the new moon, on our full moon. In the Sefer, it literally says the dark full moon. I mean, the dark new moon. Guys, we got to study better than that. You're using one verse from one translation. All you got to do is go look at the Strongs. All you got to do is go look at the Hebrew. There is no such thing as a dark new moon written in any scripture except the Sefer. The Sefer has a bunch of miswritings, just like other scriptures have. I mean, other translations, excuse me, not other scriptures, other translations. Yes, the Sefer has dark new moon written in there twice at least. It's a bad translation. That's like me going and saying, okay, if we're just taking any verse from any translation, I could go into KJV right now and send you a verse that has Easter in replacement of Passover. So I guess we're just going to keep Easter because the KJV has it. Boy, I hope we're studying better than that. That we just not looking in one translation, in one book, and just saying, oh, well, that's what it says. Boy, that's pretty easy deception if you ask me. Let's lock it up in these last days. Way too easy. Yes, beware of the scribes. I didn't put that in this study, but heed the warning. He tells you beware of the scribe, and then you go, oh, one translation, I'm going to just roll with this translation. I'm not going to do my due diligence. I'm not going to study that, see if this is even written in the Hebrew or whichever translation manuscript you're reading from. We're just going to roll with it. So understand as much as you can grab with why you're doing these days on the luminaries. Learn not the ways of the heathen. Learn from the Hebrew Israelites in scripture that told us how to keep the luminaries, mostly Enoch. And beware of the changing of times and the laws, including the calendar that we're on in the Gregorian, right? And we're about to get started on the second half. This second half will go a little bit faster. It's a little bit more pictures and less talky. The Code of Mankind, highly recommended, because this study will go into the points that I'm making in the rest of this video way more thorough. There's part 1 and part 2. But we're going to now get to the point of identifying not just the mark. We identified the mark. It's pretty much, in a nutshell, obedience to the beast, with it being a focus of either keeping the Sabbath day or profaning it, keeping a false Sabbath or just profaning it simply. But we're about to get started on now the identifiers of the beast system, which is the image, the number, and the name. All right, so Revelation 13, 15 through 18. Just going to focus on the last part, verse 17 and 18. And that no man might buy or sell save he that had the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. Here is wisdom. Here is wisdom. I wonder why that's written, because he's giving you wisdom, right? Let him that has understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666. This whole thing is coded in sixes. Revelation 13 is the sixth prime number, and the verse of the beast in verse 18 is the sum of 666. Man was created on day 6. It tells you that it is the number of a man. I mean, it couldn't get any clearer than this. It's a number of a man. And that man is anyone that's in the flesh. And we see that the carbon atom of a man is 6 electrons, 6 protons, 6 neutrons. It's the mark of man. It says it clearly tells you that it's the number of a man. I don't even know how you can overlook it. It's the number of a man. And everyone's going around looking for an antichrist. Everyone's going around looking for him. When that man can be you or me. Anybody can be an antichrist. Anybody can be a Satan. Anybody can be a beast. And our terminology and everything that we are taught nowadays is wrapped in the symbolic of man being synonymous with the beast. We see, for example, we see at Tim, like y'all think they literally named at Tim, made it sound like Adam by accident? Y'all think this is an accident? The English language, Hassatan's language, is coded just like the numbers, gematria, everything's coded. Just like the way they translated the Bible and gave us chapters and verses, everything's coded. And what does one thing that all the beasts, I've been saying this entire study, there are many beasts, all of them have one thing in common. They serve the flesh. They serve the flesh. All of them have that same thing in common. And that is what we're looking at here. The flesh. The number of the beast is the number of a man, and that is 666, which is a carbon atom. And then we get, it's very straightforward. This is not debatable. This is facts. You go into that carbon atom, we see another 6. The atomic number is 6. We see the crystal structure of an atom. And what does that look like? That look like a hexagram cube, does it not? You know, something that has 6 sides? Yeah. Everything with man is coded in 6 because man, the flesh of man, is the beast. That's what connects all religions. That is what connects every beast. And then at the bottom, before I continue, 1 Kings 10:14. Now the weight of gold that came to Solomon in 1 year was 666 talents. The Most High gives us clues of what is going to be combined with the beast. What is the beast using? What did we just get done looking at the Rothschilds? Rothschilds is funding the world bank system from the UK to the Vatican to the Synagogue of Satan, all the way here in America. By no coincidence at all. So let's get into the DNA structure of a man, talking about atoms and whatnot. And we see that our DNA structure can have hexagrams and pentagrams. That's interesting. Two things that are used for pretty evil connections here in the real world, right? A pentagram and a hexagram. Well, then that leads us to exactly that. The image of the beast is a man, is flesh. All of it comes back to feeding one's flesh, pride, and everything that's of this realm. Why have no one ever talked about the image, the name, etc.? Well, this is what I'm saying. All of these things are directly connected, all of them. So the image of the beast that is worshipped is man. And as we just saw, the pentagram and the hexagram, this is why you see illustrations like this in the occult. This is hidden wisdom. That's why I was going over the occult and stuff earlier. This is what they don't want you to know. The pentagram is a representation of you. The hexagram is a representation of you. And I even showed you, look at the stars. Look at these stars, y'all. These are what real stars look like. These stars are you. This so-called pentagram and hexagram. These are not stars. They're man. This is how you become a star on earth, is if you're chasing after waking up your third eye, having that serpent coil up your spine and awaken that Kundalini spirit. That's why when you look up things that are associated with your third eye, your Kundalini spirit, you'll see a prolifera of pentagram and hexagrams, because that is the way that Hasatan tries to give you the most sense he can give you in this realm. Some type of spiritual awakening in this life, because that's the closest thing you're going to get to becoming a star. This is our flesh. This is man. These are not stars. You and me, we have never seen a star look like this. Stars do not look like this. It's a trap to get you to worship yourself. And when you worship yourself, Hasatan can have a field day. That's the trap. You are the number of a man. You can be the number of a man. You can be the image of the beast. Just like the world has been trying to show you. As above, so below. If you're not an upright man, you're an inverted beast. Matthew 25, and we know what happens between the goats, aka this Baphomet here, represented to be a man. An inverted pentagram, they show as a man, like here. I mean, an upright pentagram, they show as a man. And an inverted pentagram, what happened to that man? Oh, that man's still there. He's just a beast now. Before him will be gathered all the nations. He will separate people from one another as a shepherd separates the sheep from the goats. And he will place the sheep on his right, but the goats on his left. Then the king will say to those on his right, come, you who are blessed by the Father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundations of the world. Then he will say to those on the left, depart from me, you cursed, into the eternal fire prepared for the devil and his angels. Let's remember that. You are cursed, right? And also just compare that Azazel, a fallen angel, is a goat. So a goat ain't bad. Is oh, my bad. Is always bad in every terminology. Goats always been bad. When we get to Satanism, Satanism uses the upside down, the inverted pentagram. And they tell you straight to your face that all of this is about self worship. That's why it's Satanism. It says since Satanism is a self centered religion, the highest holiday of the year would be the Satanist's own birthday. And then you go with the religion of the Lemma, which is another stylistic six-pointed star. Do what thou wilt. Should seek out and follow your true path based on whatever the heck you want to do. All these religions is the purpose is feeding one's flesh. And they all are synonymous with the geometry of our flesh. And we have an example of this. We have an example of man being closely related. And when you're disobedient, you are a beast to the Most High. We see this as an example in Daniel 4. And all this came upon King Nebuchadnezzar. And at the end of 12 months, he was walking on the roof of the royal palace of Babylon. And the king answered and said, is not this great Babylon, which I have built by my mighty power as a royal residence and for the glory of my majesty? And you see, this had nothing to do with Satan, right? This has everything to do with him worshiping himself. And what happened right after that? While the words were still in the king's mouth, there fell a voice from heaven. O King Nebuchadnezzar, to you it is spoken. The kingdom has departed from you, and you shall be driven from among men, and your dwelling shall be with the beasts of the field, and you shall be made to eat grass like an ox. And 7 periods of time shall pass over you until you know that the Most High rules the kingdom of men and gives it to whom he will. Immediately the word was fulfilled against Nebuchadnezzar. He was driven from among men and ate grass like an ox, like a beast. And his body was wet with the dew of heaven till his hair grew as long as eagle's feathers, and his nails were like bird's claws. At the end of the days, I, Nebuchadnezzar, lifted my eyes to heaven. My reason returned to me, and I blessed the Most High and praised and honored him who lives forever. For his dominion is an everlasting dominion, and his kingdom endures from generation to generation. All the inhabitants of the earth are accounted for as nothing, and he does according to his will among the hosts of heaven and among the inhabitants of the earth. And none can stay his hand or say to him, what have you done? At the same time, my reason returned to me, and for the glory of my kingdom, my majesty and splendor returned to me. My counselors, my lords sought me, and I was established in my kingdom, and still more greatness was added to me. Now I, Nebuchadnezzar, praise and extol and honor the King of heaven, for all his works are right and his ways are just. And those who walk in pride, he is able to humble. I mean, can't get any more clear than this. This is an example of what the beast is. The beast is you. It can become you if you exalt yourself above him. Oh, man, give me a second. All this reading. Give me. And in Matthew 16:23. But he turned and said unto Peter, Get thee behind me, Satan. Thou art an offense unto me. So just showing that just like Nebuchadnezzar can be a man and then resemble a beast in the eyes of the Most High, the same thing can be of any of us. Any of us can become Satan, an adversary, which is what the mark is. It's showing you that it's you. It can 100% be you or me. And then it takes us to religion and how every religion revolves around the image of the beast, which is the Star of Remphan. Why the cross can fold inside of the cube and why Islam uses the cube. All of it is the association of the Star of Remphan, which is the image of the beast, which is a man. I like it, Shekinah. Psalms 73:22. So foolish was I and ignorant. I was as a beast before thee. Man, great precept. Great precept. Even King David gives understanding that he is a beast when he is not keeping the Most High's commandments or when he's ignorant of them. And then we have sacred geometry. If you don't know what sacred geometry is the patterns and shapes found within creation itself, which is why we see actual images of molecules under a telescope, and we see that these images are hexagrams. And what we've been saying, the same images that is associated with the star of Remphan. It is sacred geometry. And we have a video here that I'm going to cut to. Just to show you that the entire world praises the star of Remphan and these images, which is the flesh. The star of Remphan. I'm going to show you that. The star of Remphan. I'm going to show you that every pagan culture, religion, and even from businesses to corporations honor this star. All right. So, as I said in the video, every culture, it has religious connections to some type of stylistic view of these sacred geometry shapes. And that also includes the flower of life and Metatron's cube. All of these and more is the worship of creation itself. And let's think about this, y'all. Satan means adversary. The star of Remphan is the star of Satan. And who can become Satan? You. This is why it all comes back to sacred geometry, which is found within in the makeup of our bodies and the earth itself, which is what I was speaking about, the flower of life. This is a cross-cut section of DNA. It's the flower of life, and it holds the golden ratio. And once again, We see all of these images, which is used for worship, religion, is all based on found within our bodies and or creation in the earth or in the heavens itself. Which is why you think he said exactly this in Exodus 20, verse 4. Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image. Graven image is just anything that takes shape, form, or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the waters under the earth. He included every part of it. And look what we did. Look at the world. We did the opposite. Of course, the world did the opposite. It has been prophesied to do so. So many people wants to say, and when you study these cultures, if you look into why they use these symbols, it's pretty synonymous that every religion, every culture will say that this is the symbol of life. They will be like, this is the symbol of life. This is embedded in me, it's in you, etc. But it's not the symbol of life. How could this be the symbol of life when everything that holds this symbol dies? Everything. It's honestly the symbol of death. Every single organism that holds these symbols die, which is even spoken about in 1 Peter 1:23-24. Being born again, not of corruptible seed, which is what we got to do, which is what we're leading to, right? If you don't want to be the beast, that's why we're called to be reborn, right? Because the flesh is of the beast. So we got to be born again, not of corruptible seed, but of incorruptible by the word of Elohim, which liveth and abideth forever. For all flesh is as grass, and all the glory of man as the flower of grass. The grass withers, and the flower thereof falleth away. I mean, it tells you this. All flesh is as grass, as a flower. Let's look at it. Look at the flower. There's a pentagram. All of them, hexagrams. It's the same symbols. And all of these flowers, these snowflakes will melt. These flowers, the grass will die, just as the flesh of a man. So no, this symbol isn't a representation of life. It's a representation of death. Because everything dies on earth. Everything. Genesis 2:17. But of the tree of knowledge of good and evil, thou shalt not eat of it. For in that day thou eateth thereof, thou shalt surely die. That's what happened to Adam and Eve. Their flesh became cursed, as we're about to read in Genesis 3, and death was labeled upon them. That's what this is a representation of. Death. Genesis 3 in the Targums. But to Adam he said, because thou hast hearkened to the word of thy wife, and hast eaten of the fruit of the tree of which I commanded thee, saying, thou shalt not eat of it. Accursed is the ground, in that it did not show thee thy guilt. In labor shalt thou eat of it all the days of thy life. By the labor of thy hands thou shalt eat food, until thou turn again to the dust from which thou was created. For dust thou art, and unto dust thou shalt return. For from the dust it is to be that thou art to arise, to render judgment and reckoning for all that thou hast done in the day of the great judgment. So from dust we are, in the ground where the dust lies has been cursed, which is why the geometry of a man is synonymous with a hexagram. Hex is a curse. You see how all of these are connected? We are from the ground of this cursed realm, which is why we have to be born again and we cannot live in this flesh. And remember, geometry of the DNA of a man is a hexagon, which means to be cursed. And what did I say up here? To the goats that he separated, depart from me, you cursed. All of it's connected. The goats are cursed already. Are you going to choose to be reborn and not of this flesh? Or are you going to be a goat of the flesh, of man's traditions, of anything of this realm? And that's the thing. Anything from this realm is cursed. All of it is marked with a hex. All of it. That's why everything dies. Here we go. This is the final portion of we already identified the image. They gave us the number. We just connected the dots of the number. We identified the what was the number, the image. Oh, the mark. And now we're at the name. So we have the name of the beast, for it is the number of a man. The name of the beast. I mean, it shouldn't be a surprise for those that watch the Code of Mankind, but if you haven't and you don't know and you use the Tetragrammaton, I'm here to hurt your feelings because the truth will set you free, though. But, you may get your feelings hurt. You may get a knee-jerk reaction, but you should be used to this if you've come this far in truth. Look at it. The ancient secrets. What is occult? What is the occult? Remember? It's what it means to not reveal, to cover, to keep a secret of the personal power of the Tetragrammaton. And look at the illustration of it. It's a man. Can't even make it up. It's a man. That's why it's a secret. That's why they show you these things, but if you don't know what you're looking at, you can't decode it. The Tetragrammaton's a man. But let's continue connecting some dots. Psalms 44. If we have, I wanted to, before I continue to connect the dots, I wanted to put this out in the forefront, is that if you are worshiping the Most High in a wrong name, that doesn't mean you're marked with the beast. I just want to make this clear. These are identifying those that choose the beast system. And just like this book, this is a book right here. Those that choose to read and do the works of this book, the occult secrets to tap in your personal power. And that's why it's a personal power, because this is the name of you. This is the name of flesh. But it's not just because you are accidentally using the Tetragrammaton, that doesn't mean you are marked with the beast. If you are doing the works of those that use the Tetragrammaton in Kabbalah, mysticism, Judaism, occult practice, meditation, those will get you marked with the beast. And scripture will clarify this. And this goes with everything. All of these things that has to do with having the beast has to do with obedience to things of the beast, such as the things I was saying that will be found in a book like this. Meditation and spells, witchcraft. But if you are doing it out of ignorance and you're not being obedient to their laws, there is mercy. There is grace. If we have forgotten the name of our Elohim or stretched out our hands to a strange God, shall not the Most High search this out for he knoweth the secrets of the heart. All right. So if it's an accident, he will search out your heart. That's what I was speaking about earlier. I'll allow him to separate the sheep from the goat when it's all said and done. That's his job. He is the one that's going to know who's really searching him and just who has fallen short in their time while searching him and who has been content and stopped in Judaism and refuses to move on. He will search out that matter. And continuing in Hosea 2, and it shall be at that day, says the Most High, that thou shalt call me Isha. This is the word that means my husband. So this is obviously referring to the marriage of the Lamb. This is what this is referring to. So he's saying, in that day when you call me my husband, means these people are at the wedding. They're there. They made it. So just because you're not getting everything right in the sense of having the right name and all that doesn't mean you will be kicked out of the kingdom. He will search your heart, as Psalms 44 has said. But it says that you shall call me my husband. It shall call me no more Bailey. So the devil. So in other words, he's telling his people that a lot of you are going to be calling me the devil still. But I will take the name out of your mouth at the wedding supper. Excuse me. For I will take away the names of Balaam out of her mouth, and they shall no more be remembered by their name. So he makes it clear that his people are going to be calling him by the wrong name. And that would make no sense if the Tetragrammaton was the right name. That would make no sense, because that means if that was the right name, then most people would be calling him the right name, not the opposite. Continuing. And we know who are his saints. Revelation 14:12. We went over this. Those that keep the commandments and have faith. It seems like he's going to have some mercy with certain things, such as the names, as long as your obedience and your heart is in the right direction. And then once again, 19:7-8. Let us be glad and rejoice and give honor to him, for the marriage of the Lamb, my Isha, is come, and his wife has made herself ready. And to her was granted that she should be arrayed in fine linen, clean and white, for the fine linen is the righteousness of the saints. And what is the righteousness of the saints? Keeping the commandments and faith in Messiah. All right. Just want to make that clear. Just because someone used the wrong name, it's about your heart and who you are obedient with. And then the name of the flesh. We see it. It's funny because people use this for the opposite. They go, oh, the Most High wrote his name in our DNA. He wrote his name on us. Why would he write his name on a cursed body for a temporary realm? Why would he do that? We literally are supposed to die to this body, to this flesh, and be born again. Why would he co-sign this body? That's just weird. When you really think about it, that doesn't make any sense. He tells you to die to your flesh, but on our flesh, he co-signed it. So you're saying that he's about it? Make it make sense with scripture now. Make it make sense with scripture. That makes no sense. So you see this over and over again. I go into detail in the Code of Mankind Part 2. So if you want to look at that, go for it. But look it up. This is a code that can be written on our DNA. And from my research, it isn't the same code in every strand of DNA, but it is a code that can be written on our DNA, as seen right here. And then we have y'all, and people got to understand, everybody wants to keep using that. Guys, just as we read here, contraction from the Tetragrammaton, meaning is the same. Y'all is from Tetragrammaton. This is all the same. You will not see y'all being a part of the root word of Ahaya. Ever. Y'all is a part of the tetragrammaton. It says it tells you right here. It's a contraction from it. It's not a contraction from Haya. It's a contraction from Yod Hey Vav Hey right here. All right. So we see this is what it is. This is our flesh. This is the name of the flesh, not the name of the Most High. The name of the flesh, which is why it's connected to the image, to the number, and to the what was it? The image, the number, the name, and I don't know why I'm forgetting that one, but y'all get it. And then we see it connected to all these different beasts. All these different beasts. This is Kabbalah. And look at this. We have a pentagram with eyes because it's a man. You see, they show you these secrets. The occult show you these secrets in little parts. They show you that has two eyes like a man. It shows you this. And then that this two-eyed pentagram man is marked with the tetragrammaton. And we see that the synagogue of Satan, the state of Israel, uses the four-letter name YHWH or YHVH. And that's why all these beasts use the same name. Oh, that's real fuzzy. I don't know. It's fuzzier more than what I had it earlier, but excuse me. Either way, you can look it up. This was a zoom in on this. This was the tetragrammaton. This is obviously Freemasonry, and Masonry is based on Judaism. Eliminate the teaching of Judaism from Masonic ritual, and what is it? Everything that has to do with Masonry, from the Star of Remphan to the name, is a copycat because it's the same gods worshiping the same beast. They understand what they're worshiping. Why would they be pushing the Most High's name? Why? Makes no sense. Then the Vatican, the papacy himself. They use the Star of Remphan, the marking of our flesh. And of course, they use the name of our flesh. All of these beasts are one, just like I wanted to open up this study and finish it. I'm showing you that the whole world is one on one accord. It doesn't matter if you're a Hindu. It doesn't matter if you're Islam. You're all marked with the beast. They all have the same similar products of the beast. Same thing with the occult magic. We see they got the magic wands, the dagger, whatever they're using. They have the Star of Remphan, which we see as a sigil of Saturn and Azazel. And what's the sigil? It's a type of symbol used in magic. So this symbol, you can literally get your candles out, do a magic ritual using the geometry of the Star of Remphan. If this was of the Father, this would not be possible. And they use, what else do they use with the symbol? The name and the four letters of the divine name, YHVH. They are using the name and the symbol to conjure demons. Impossible if this was the Most High's name. Impossible. All right, y'all. So this is something new for those that have watched The Code of Mankind prior. Listen up, man. What a find this is right here. So I've had so much things. Obviously, I have a whole part 2 on The Code of Mankind talking about the name. And then doing this one, I was online and I came across this meaning, and I haven't touched on this, and I looked at it and it said the ancient pictograph meaning of the four-letter name. And it means hand behold, nail behold. That's what you get out of the ancient meaning of the tetragrammaton. And everybody will allude that hand behold, nail behold. Everybody alludes that this is the crucifixion. And I'm not going to disagree. I agree. And we see this symbolic in the Old and the New Testament in Psalms 22:16. For the dogs encompass me, a company of evildoers encircles me. They have pierced my hands and feet. So there you go. Hand behold, nail behold. All right. And then also in John 20:25. So the other disciples told him, we have seen the Adon, but he said to them, unless I see his hands, the mark of the nails, and place my fingers into the mark of the nails, and place my hand into his side, I will never believe. And so, yes, I agree. The Tetragrammaton is a representation of the crucifixion. Let's continue on that mindset. So this is equals to crucifixion, the execution of a person by nailing or binding them to a cross or stake. But that's the thing. Oh, before I continue, I wanted to make one more point. We all, the thing that how they get you with this is that you go, this is Messiah. This is a story of Messiah, and everybody goes, oh, that's so cool. That's so cool. Messiah's right there in the meaning of the Tetragrammaton. Hand behold, nail behold. When on earth did someone else's name contribute to someone else's walk? Moses is named Moses because he was drawn out of water. Abraham used to be called Abram. His name was changed to Abraham because he was going to be a father of many nations. From Jacob to Israel, over and over again, your name is your identifier of who you are. Paleo-Hebrew is just a form of the Hebrew. Like this is a Babylonian Hebrew. This is pictograph Hebrew. Then there's Paleo-Hebrew. It's the same word. You don't get different names, different words just because it's a different type of Hebrew. It doesn't matter if it's a Babylonian Hebrew, pictograph, or Paleo. It's the same word, same name. Okay? But continuing my point is that why does the Father have a name that's supposed to be symbolic of the Son? The Father, why would the Father have a name for the Son? The Father never was crucified. Ever. The Father has never died. So why would the Father's name be a meaning for the Son's name? Just wanted to make that point. It's like, are we thinking? It makes no sense. None. Especially when we get to the idea that the crucifixion is about sacrifice, death. Why would the Father's name, which the Tetragrammaton is inserted right here, and he says that this is my name forever. Why on earth would the Father's name that is forever be a name for a temporary realm that means death when he is life? Hebrews 10:16-18. This is the covenant that I will make with them after those days, says the Most High. I will put my laws into their hearts, and in their minds will I write them. And their sins and iniquity will I remember no more. Now, where remission of these is, there is no more offering for sins. The offering of sins, which is symbolic through the crucifixion, is temporary. It's temporary. Why would the Father's name that is forever be for a temporary realm that means to put to death, sacrifice? Just making points here. If y'all never heard them, it don't make no sense. for the Father to have a name for the Son. If anything, this should have been the Son's name, not the Father's. And why would the Father's name of the Tetragrammaton, which is the name forever, be a name that means crucifixion, which is death for a temporary realm? So you have an eternal name with a temporary meaning. You're telling me when we're eternal in a million years from now, we're still going to be calling him hand behold, nail behold, crucifixion? What? What? That don't make any sense. None. So, putting all that in perspective, y'all should know where this is going. Guys, this is the name of our flesh. And what are we supposed to do to our flesh? Come on, y'all. And those who belong to Messiah have crucified the flesh with its passions and desires. Can't even, oh my goodness. The Tetragrammaton means to crucify because we were commanded to crucify it. Our name, just like Abraham, name meant what his walk would be. The name of our flesh is what is supposed to be done to it. The purpose of our flesh is the meaning of the name of our flesh. Oh my gosh, I can't even make this up. The flesh is the Tetragrammaton. The Tetragrammaton means hand behold, nail behold. And what do we do with our flesh? We crucify that thing with Mashiach on the cross, on the stake, whatever you want to say. Tell me that don't make sense. Romans 8:33-4. For Elohim has done what the law, weakened by the flesh, could not do, by sending his own son in the likeness of sinful flesh. And for sin, he condemned sin in the flesh, in order that the righteous requirement of the law might be fulfilled in us who walk not according to the flesh, but according to the Spirit, which is the entire point of this study. This is the mark of the beast, is the revelation of the flesh that you are walking in. That's why ye must be born again, and we should crucify our flesh. Hand behold, nail behold, our flesh to the cross. That's why this don't make no sense. Everything that the world's telling you about it don't make no sense. It's a temporary name for a temporary realm. The name means to sacrifice, to crucify. And that is what this realm is. It's the only realm where death lives. Or death lives, oxymoron. But where death resides. There's no death in heaven. Everybody's heard that saying about your flesh doesn't care about what you do in this life because it's not coming with you. That's why the name of this flesh means to crucify, because it's not coming with you. Man. In John 3:6, that which is born of the flesh is flesh, and that which is born of the Spirit is spirit. Make it make sense with scripture. Let's go. John 3:3. Yeshua answered him, truly, truly, I say to you, unless one is born again, he cannot see the kingdom of Elohim. I know y'all get it now. I know y'all see it now. Matthew 26:41. Watch and pray that you may not enter into temptation. The spirit indeed is willing, but the flesh is weak. Psalms 73:26. My flesh and my heart may fail, but Elohim is the strength of my heart and my portion forever. So your flesh is Satan, which is the adversary. The mark of the beast is not somebody around the corner. It can abide in anybody. Stop looking and start observing and testing the ruachs of man. Galatians chapter 2, 8 through 19, then 23. See to it that no one takes you captive by philosophy and empty deceit, according to human tradition, according to the elemental spirits of the world, and not according to Mashiach. This highlighted portion is literally what flesh is. Human tradition, fallen angels, elemental spirits of this world. That's the mark of the beast. They say it in a bunch of different ways. These are all marks of the beast. For in him the whole fullness of deity dwells bodily, and you have been filled in him, who is the head of all rule and authority. In him also you were circumcised with a circumcision made without hands, by putting off the body of the flesh. We have to take off the body of the flesh by the circumcision of Mashiach, having been buried with him in baptism, in which were also raised with him through faith in the powerful working of Elohim, who raised him from the dead. And you, who were dead in your trespasses and the uncircumcision of your flesh, Elohim made alive together with him, having forgiven us all our trespasses by canceling the record of debt that stood against us with its legal demands. This he set aside, nailing it to the cross. He disarmed the rulers and authorities and put them to open shame by triumphing over them in him. Therefore, let no one pass judgment on you in questions of food and drink, or with regard to festival or a new moon or a Sabbath. These are a shadow of the things to come, but the substance belongs to Mashiach. So you see people use this and they say, so don't let no one judge me. I don't have to keep it. No, read before that. He's saying all of these things, the man's tradition, elemental spirits are not all of this stuff of the world. So he's saying, so when you're doing the things for Messiah, for the body of Messiah, don't let nobody judge you for keeping the Sabbath, the new moon, the festivals, etc. These are a shadow of things to come. The body of Mashiach. Let no one disqualify you insisting on asceticism and worship of angels, going on in detail about visions, puffed up without reason by his own sensual mind. This is the occult right here. Their hidden wisdom. They think they're so smart. And not holding fast to the head, from whom the whole body, nourished and knit together through its joints and ligaments, grows with a growth that is from Elohim. And then in verse 23, to conclude this chapter, these have indeed an appearance of wisdom in promoting self-made religion and asceticism. I looked this word up. I already forgot. Someone looked that word up. I already forgot what it meant. It's a severity to the body, but they are of no value in stopping the indulgence of the flesh. You see that? All of this is about the indulgence of the flesh, religion, worshiping of angels, elemental spirits of this world, man tradition, over and over again. Yes, that word means to be self-disciplined in a craft, but it's of no gain. It's of no gain to the body when you're not keeping the commandments. Let's say like a monk, for example. It's like, don't be impressive with a monk for being disciplined in his craft, because they're of no value in stopping the indulgence of the flesh. And I also want to speak on the name we use, Ahaya, Haya. Watch out how you use this, because everything is about getting you to worship yourself. They translate this as I am that I am. I am has sent me to unto you. And you see this. I don't find it often, but you do. This is the one of the few times I see that they have Ahaya, Asher, Ahaya, a part of the sacred names, but it's how they use it. And how they use it is speaking in first person as I am light. They are using Ahaya as a singular first person to talk about oneself being God. So they can trick you into speaking things into existence, into manifest. So I just wanted to give a warning label with this translation. Do not use I am for Ahaya. That is not a good translation. It is deception for you to be speaking in first person. Okay? Everything, the whole tetragrammaton, everything in this study I've been showing you, it's about self-worship that opens you up to pride, which opens you up to the adversary. Do not use that whole the great I am. That's deception, y'all. And I've spoken on this. Beware of the scribes. These are Masonic scribes that's translated like this. This is why you see things such as this with the Star of Remphan, I am light. They're getting you to speak in the place of the Most High. So what do you do? What do you do then? Well, I'll take you straight to what they say. The Masonic um they tell you this. I am that I am. Let's just read it. The name which the great architect directed Moses to use in Exodus 3:14, that he might identify himself to the Israelites as a messenger sent to them by Elohim. It is one of the modifications of the Tetragrammaton. Well, that's false. That's just what they say. And as such, in his Hebrew, da 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 da. All right, let's get this point here. Let's cut down here. So this is how they see it. They even tell you the original Hebrew words are actually in the future tense and grammatically means I will be what I will be. But all the versions give a present signification. The Vulgate has it as I am who I am, or I am that I am. Septuagint, I am he who exists. And then Arabic, I am the eternal who passes away, not away. So in a nutshell, you can't simplify the meaning of the Most High in his name in English with just I am. And the example of this is in Revelation 1:8, when Mashiach is doing the same thing he did in Exodus 3:14. He says, I am Alpha and Omega, the Aleph and the Tav, the beginning and the ending, says the Adon, which is, which was, and which is to come, the Almighty. My point is, that's like saying, reading Revelation 1:8 and saying, he is I am. No, he's not I am. He is the Aleph and the Tav. He is, which was, and which is to come. He is he who exists. He is the eternal one that creates life. He is life. So my point is, you can't simplify it. It isn't anything I am. if the most simplest form I like to use is I am he is he who exists. This one right here. That's my favorite one if I'm using a short term for Ahaya, Ashar, Ahaya. Guys, I'm pointing out that Ahaya is written there. Ahaya, Ashar, Ahaya. I'm saying what they did in English. When you are using the word in English, as we're reading right here, if I go to the Strong's Concordance right here, it says Ahaya, Ashar, Ahaya. In English, in some translations, they just say, I am that I am. I'm saying stop saying I am. I am doesn't mean anything. It's a trick to get you to talk in first person about yourself. There's nothing wrong with using Ahaya. Nothing wrong with the Hebrew. I'm talking about how it's translated. It doesn't make sense. Like I said, that's like Revelation 8:1. You simplifying by saying he just said I am. So, like I said, nothing's wrong with Ahaya, Ashar, Ahaya. It's how they translate it to trick you to speak in first person. Okay? You can say any of these. You can say, he will be what he will be. He is he who exists. He is he that creates. He is life. But he is more than just I am, that I am. No, don't use that. That is deception. Say he is the beginning and the end. That's what he is saying. The meaning of his name is a full-blown sentence in English. That's my point, okay? Don't try to be lazy and say, I am. Obviously, you didn't know before, but I'm telling you now, this is why they translated it, and this is when you will see it in formats as this. This is how they pervert Ahaya, Ashar, Ahaya. Nothing wrong with the Hebrew, it's just how they translate it in the English, okay? I just want to make that clear. Because my people are destroyed for a lack of knowledge, because thou hast rejected knowledge, I will also reject thee, that thou shalt be no priest to me, seeing that thou hast forgotten the law of thy Elohim. Once again, all these symbols. Look at this. Manly P. Hall is a 33-degree Freemason. And this is a quote from his book. When the human race learns to read the language of symbolism, a great veil will fall from the eyes of men. The occult, this is hidden understanding that we're talking about right now that they don't want you to fully understand. And this is why secret societies in the whole world evolves around the same symbols. But blessed are your eyes, for they see, and your ears, for they hear. In recap, the mark, in the overall, the mark is obedience, but in the center of the mark is the false Sabbath. The beast is trying to get you to profane or to worship on a false Sabbath. That is the mark of the beast. The image of the beast is any image that is you, that's creation. All these different what is it? Hidden, was it? Sacred geometry. All these sacred geometry symbols, all these symbols of man, those are all the images of the beast. So when you see them, it's all of these are identifiers of those that is pushing the beast agenda. That's what these are for. They identify the beast, which is why I showed you so many different religions, cultures, all are identifying with the same imagery. The name of the beast, the four-letter name, the Tetragrammaton, Yod He Vav He, YHWH, YHVH, or just YAH. The number of the beast, they give us that, but it's the number of a carbon atom and the number of the image. All of these are connected. So this is, in a nutshell, your recap for the mark, the image, the name, and number of the beast. And lastly, this is in closing, in the wisdom of Solomon, there is no new thing under the sun. Let's read the wisdom of Solomon now with the understanding that we have, and let's see if we can pick up the understanding that is being written right before us. I'm reading chapter 14, starting at verse 12. For the idea of making idols was the beginning of fornication, and the invention of them was the corruption of life. For neither have they existed from the beginning, nor will they exist forever. For through the vanity of men they entered the world, and therefore their speedy end has been planned. For a father consumed with grief at an untimely bereavement made an image of his child. I just want to stop and pause and let's point out he's telling you the first image is of a man, a child. It's always been man. The images has always been intertwined with creation, who have been suddenly taken from him, and he now honored as a god what was once a dead human being, and handed on to his descendants secret rites and initiations, a cult. Then the ungodly custom, grown strong with time, was kept as a law, and at the commandment of monarchs, graven images were worshipped. And these graven images started with what? A man. When men could not honor monarchs in their presence, since they lived at a distance, they imagined their appearance far away and made a visible image of the king whom they honored, so that by their zeal they might flatter the absent one as though present. Then the ambition of the craftsmen impelled even those who did not know the king to intensify their worship. For he, perhaps wishing to please his ruler, skillfully forced the likeness to take more beautiful form. A more beautiful form. If you watch that Code of Mankind, I talk about how the sacred geometry is a beautiful form that attracts us. We are attracted to these symbols because it feeds our flesh. It's one with our flesh. Likeness to take a more beautiful form in the multitude attracted by the charm of his work, now regarded as an object of worship, the one whom shortly before they had honored as a man. And this became a hidden trap for mankind. It was a hidden trap, as if they didn't know they were honoring man. Because men in bondage to misfortune or to royal authority bestowed on objects of stone or wood the name, here we go, there's a name connected to this idolatry that ought not to be shared. Afterwards, it was not enough for them to err about the knowledge of Elohim, but they lived in great strife due to ignorance, and they call such great evils peace. For whether they kill children in their initiations, or celebrate secret mysteries, or hold friends, I don't even know what that is. Friends' eyes reveals with strange customs. So this is all these occults, Masonic, mysticism, Kabbalah, all of these groups, the papacy, they all do this that hold strong to an image and a name. They no longer keep either their lives or their marriages pure, that they either treacherously kill one another or grieve one another by adultery. In all this, a raging riot of blood and murder, theft and deceit, corruption, faithlessness, tumult, perjury, confusion over what is good, forgetfulness of favors, pollution of souls, sex, perversion, dishonor in marriage, adultery, and debauchery. For the worship of idols, not to be named, is the beginning and cause and end of every evil. Why? because it is the mark of the beast. It is the beginning and the end, as we read in Revelation 13. And that concludes, the study of the mark of the beast. Shabbat Shalom and Tudah for joining me on this path of truth to give us the identifiers of those who push the agenda of the beast himself. Shalom.